Introverts, how did you meet your girlfriend? Story 1. After 4 years of no dating following a crushing breakup, a mutual friend told me she was into me. I was oblivious. I didn't know her very well, but I was ready to try again. I wasn't even sure I was attracted to her, but I figured it couldn't hurt to go on a date with a nice girl. We hit it off. She's pretty shy, which is why she said she'd never dared to talk to me. But I only realized during the first date, she's amazing. Many years later, now we have 2 kids and there's just a lot of love in our lives. Story 2. Both of us work at a grocery store. I saw her and thought she was the cutest there, but I never did anything about it. She works as a cashier and I work in produce. She would always do the shop, and I soon realized that she was doing that for a reason and started flirting with her back. We've been together for 11 months now. Story 3. I met my husband while I was shopping. I spent a good 6 weeks buying incredibly overpriced avocados from the shop he works at. And then after coincidentally winning at the Fruit Box weekly draw, I added him on Facebook through the shop's Facebook page. Minor stalker alert here, and just asked him out. And here we are, a year later, married. Bonus, the avocados are now free. Story 4. I knew someone in high school who had a bit of a crush on her. Both of us were too introverted to do anything about it. We didn't see each other for a few years after high school. I was with some friends from college when we recognized each other. After a few months of hanging out, we decided to go out as we intended in high school. That was 4 years ago. We got married last October and adopted a lizard together. Story 5. I'm that husband similarly. No kid yet, but we met in high school. I vomited if she'd like to date me, as I was a severe introvert. 12-ish years later, we're still together. We'll be celebrating 2 years of marriage in October. Story 6. At work, she worked there also. I was having lunch with my dad at work, and she came up to me, slid her number on a piece of paper, and said, "Call me." My dad looked at me with proud eyes like I had just won the lottery. I did. That was 17 years ago. We've been married for 11 years. Story 7. She got drunk and was all over me. I just played it cool and didn't do anything. She was very aggressive, but I knew I'd be taken advantage if I let it go anywhere. So, knowing her interest, I called her the next day. She was embarrassed, but we started dating soon after. We're married with 4 kids. Story 8. She and I lived in the same small town where we'd commute every Sunday to the larger city nearby for church. She recognized me in town one day and asked to get a ride that Sunday with my roommate and me. So she kept getting rides and I kept not talking to her much 'cause introvert. Just polite small talk until finally, one day, we both went to our respective hometowns for a visit. Hers happened to be on the way to mine, so she got a ride, and almost 3 hours of chatting later, we were much better friends. Asked her out a few months later. Story 9. After my divorce, I walked her into her classroom every day for 6 months to pick up my kid. She finally found me on Facebook, and we started talking every day. She then told me she had been flirting with me for 6 months. Now we've been married for 4 years. Story 10. Math class in my senior year of high school. I asked her for help because I thought she knew what she was doing. She didn't, but helped me anyway because she thought I was cute. I found out she was calm when she asked me if I wanted to see something gross and showed me a picture of a pink sock. She also lovingly called our math teacher a cum dumpster. We're still together after 2 years. Story 11. We met at a science conference. I was a quiet PhD student presenting my poster. She was a charming and quirky master's student that let me text her about her toes. It was destiny. The first date was a couple of days later at an Arctic Monkeys show at a tiny venue. She passed out and the guards thought I drugged her. She cooled off and rehydrated. We went to my place that night and the rest is history. Today is the first anniversary of our marriage. Story 12. I met my girlfriend, now wife, on a dating website. She messaged me first. I had a pretty detailed profile, but she says the 2 things that stood out to her were 1. I had attractive pictures, and 2. I described my ideal woman, not a girl or a female. We talked online a bit before we met up. I had a great conversation over sushi, and the rest is history. I had never had a long-term relationship before, but this was meant to be. She's my best friend and a wonderful person. Story 13. A girl I worked with discovered I would be having Christmas alone as my family lived out of state, and I couldn't get enough time off work. We didn't know each other very well, but she invited me to her house for Christmas. We hit it off 2 months later. We were dating. 11 years later and 8 years of marriage, we're still going strong. I do feel bad for her boyfriend, however, she dumped him the day before we started dating. Story 14. A mutual friend made her add me on Facebook. She sent me the message, "Too many cooks," and nothing else. We talked for a week. Met, kissed. I met her parents 2 days later. 2.5 years later, we're moving in with each other. Story 15. We lived in the same apartment complex. I was trying hard to get in shape, so I was doing one of those workout videos, one of the P90X or something like that, and my sliding door was open for ventilation. She was passing by and asked if she could work out with me sometime. So we started working out and eating together afterward, like 3 to 4 times a week. Then we started to hang out more than work out. It didn't take long till we were married. Story 16. My boyfriend and I are highly introverted and quiet. We met at the start of school when everyone was trying to make new friends through our roommates. I always hoped he wasn't into me because I wanted friends. He was my best friend, and we had the same ager, so we always stayed up super late doing projects together. One of those nights, I couldn't focus on our work because I wanted to be close to him, and that's when I realized I was in love with him. Special thanks to Java for that. Story 17. I was going through a divorce and living with a friend. We hung around his friends mostly, and I didn't have many, especially not single ones. Coincidentally, most of his friends were married as well. So I got the idea that we should get some single female friends to hang around. They would have other single female friends. And we'd have some good wing women to hook us up when we were out. I was breaking out of my shell at 29 years old. So I emailed this girl that I had posted in the Strictly Platonic section. And we could not stop going back and forth with conversation. We always had something to talk about. It wasn't supposed to develop into a relationship. I had only ever met one person that I clicked with so well. I asked her about 3 weeks later, and we'll be married 2 years in August. Story 18. In college, I awkwardly responded when she would come over and talk to me before class. She eventually got tired of waiting for me to ask her for her phone number, so she had to ask me for mine. She eventually got tired of waiting for me to ask her out, so she asked me if I'd ever like us to do something together. 3 years later, we live together and about to graduate college and are engaged. Story 19. I went to a friend's party and 3 of my friends and I were sitting around a fire. Then this drunk girl comes to us and wants to know our names. Well, I have somewhat an exotic name, and she jokingly asked if my parents didn't love me or why else they would give me this name. At this moment, I knew I would have to find her on Facebook and ask her out. And no, I don't know what's wrong with me, but 3 years later, we're still in a long-distance relationship. Story 20. I was sitting alone in the lecture with headphones in as usual. She sat next to me with a smile and said, "Hey, we're going to be friends." It turns out she's damn near as introverted as I am and was way out of her comfort zone in being so forward, but thank God she did.